Hey guys, it's JC Theater Yu-Gi-Oh here today, and I'm coming at you with a TG deck profile for you. Welcome to day 4 of my 4 days of Battles of Legend Heroes Revenge themed deck profile. I just want to say I want to end this week on a high note when it comes to the deck profiles, and out of all the decks I've showcased this week, TGs are definitely the ones that I like the most. Let's just get into the deck profile. So first off, we're going to play 3 TG Tank Grub. Tank Grub is amazing because my personal issue with synchro decks in general is trying to balance the tuners versus non-tuners. And this level 1 guy right here can be treated as either a tuner or a non-tuner in any TG synchro. On top of that, he helps extend plays because when he's used as a synchro summon, once per turn you can special summon out a token to your side of the field. Next up, I play one of the new cards, TG Gear Zombie. TG Gear Zombie is a free special summon onto the field by having a TG monster on your side of the field lose 1,000 attack. So mainly you would choose one of the synchro monsters or even the link monster for the deck, so that way you can lower their attack. The only issue with Gear Zombie is that as you see Gear Zombie himself, as well as you will see the other weaker TG monsters, they don't have much attack, so actually they can't be used as targets to bring Gear Zombie out. You do have to have a monster with at least 1,000 or more attack to get him out. Another free special summon from the hand is Booster Raptor. All he requires is you to have a TG monster on your side of the field, and then you can special summon him out onto the field. He also has the effect that the TGs have, where if they're destroyed on the field and sent there this turn, you can add a TG monster from your deck to your hand except a copy of itself. So during the end phase of that turn. They're kind of like Gokis in a sense, except just for TG monsters, and it happens during the end phase, to put it in like modern terms kind of. Next up, I play 2 TG Drillfish. Though this deck is very, very pure, I still only run the 2 TG Drillfish, which is if all of the monsters you control are TG monsters, you can special summon him out onto the field. He also has an effect where he can attack directly, and when a TG monster you control inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can destroy a monster your opponent controls, which is actually pretty good, but usually before your battle phase, you would synchro him away for something. Additionally, a little spicy option I use is 1 TG Cyber Magician. He actually helps get off plays when my hands are a little on the bricky side, since you can use TG monster in your hand as well as him on the field in order to synchro summon. And since I do run a level 4 TG monster, it's just him and a monster in my hand can bring out a level 5, and then we go from there. So he's actually definitely decent in the deck. Next up for level 2s, I run 2 TG Striker. He's basically a Cyber Dragon, because if your opponent controls a monster and you control no monsters, you can special summon him out onto the field, and then he has that classic TG effect, as well as Cyber Magician. Next up for the level 3, we play 3 TG Werewolf. If a level 4 or lower monster is special summoned anywhere on the field, you can special summon Werewolf from your hand, and then he also has the TG Destruction effect. Next up, a very good card actually is TG Screw Serpent. When he's normal or special summoned, you can special summon out another TG monster from your graveyard except another copy of himself. It just has to be level 4 or lower, and then if he's in your grave, you can remove him from play in order to increase or decrease the level of a TG monster on your side of the field by 1. He's definitely good for both being on the field and also being in the graveyard. Next up for the monsters, we have 3 TG Rush Rhino. His effect doesn't matter. He has 1,600 attack, and when he attacks during the battle phase, he gains an additional 400 attack. Additionally, he has the TG effect where if he's destroyed during the end phase, you can search a different TG monster. But the power in him lies in the simple fact that he's a level 4 TG monster, so he helps with Cyber Magician plays, as well as we also run some other level 1 tuners in the deck. Next, off to the spell cards. I have 1 card destruction. As you'll see when we get to the Link monster in a bit, we need TGs in the grave. So card destruction is an easy early game way to dump some TGs in the graveyard. Monster Reborn, because since we are dumping TGs to the graveyard, and since we also, once we start doing our plays with synchro summoning, we get a lot of monsters there quickly, and then we can use Monster Reborn to extend those synchro plays even further. Foolish Burial for the same reason as card destruction. Rhoda, because we are playing the TG Striker in the deck. 1-for-1, because we have quite a few targets for it. And then a spicy strategy kind of that I play in this deck. Because of the ban list, bringing this back to 3, I decided to run 3 Dark Hole. Now, Dark Hole destroys everything on every monster on the field. So what you can do is either before you start your plays, use it in order to destroy your opponent's stuff, or you can use it when you have your monsters on the field in order to get a bunch of searches off during the end phase. Additionally, for a little more disruption, I play 3 Torrential Tribute as well, for that same reasoning. A new trap we have is Sonic Stun. I feel like this is much better than what it's worth right now and can become very good in the future. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you negate that attack and you can special summon 1 TG monster or a level 4 or lower tuner from your hand or deck. The final card in the deck is a little slow, but it does add draw power, and the recycling actually helps quite a bit. It's TGX3 DX2. So TGX3, you send 3 TG monsters in your graveyard and shuffle them into your deck. And then you draw the DX2. You draw 2 cards. Now on to the extra deck. I do play 2 TG Trident Launcher. This card's effect is very powerful, but sadly it's locked into a deck that cannot really abuse it too much. So what it needs is 2 or more effect monsters, including 1 TG tuner. So there it is, locked into the archetype first off. And then if he's link summon, you can special summon 3 TG monsters, 1 from your hand, 1 from your deck, and 1 from your graveyard in defense position to the arrows, the 3 arrows he points to. And also, you can't special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except TG monsters. And then he does have a protection effect. Your opponent cannot target TG Synchro monsters that he points to with card effects. Ultimately, Trident Launcher is very good. The things to note, though, is that you just need to make sure you have a TG in your hand, and also the fact that it does lock you into TGs for the rest of the turn, basically, when it comes to any special summoning, aka extra deck summoning mainly. I do run the 1 Underclock Taker as kind of a backup. Honestly, I hardly ever go into it. Maybe you can try out some different cards that have the bottom left and bottom right arrows, like Beat Cop or Lamp for Linkus or something generic, so that way you can just do some different plays. But honestly, in this deck, I like going straight to TG Trident Launcher and then popping off, because when he does pop off, he's very good. The saddest card in this deck is the 1 Formula Synchron. For those of you who don't know, when he synchro summon, you draw a card, and then he also allows you to synchro summon during your opponent's turn, because he is a tuner synchro. The sad part is that he's not a TG monster. So if you want to use Formula Synchron's effect of drawing a card, you need to make sure you special summon him before you use TG Trident Launcher's effect. Next up, the TG Recipro Dragonfly. He's level 2, he's just a synchro monster, and once per turn you can target one other TG synchro monster you control and send it to the graveyard. And then if all the synchro monsters that were used for the synchro summon are in your grave, you can special summon all of them back onto your field. Recipro Dragonfly is important because I'm just going to skip right ahead to the 2 main guys here. TG Blade Blaster and TG Halberd Cannon. Blade Blaster requires 1 tuner synchro and 1 or more non-tuner synchros. So basically you're going to have a tuner synchro, level 5 synchro, and then a non-tuner level 5 synchro to make this level 10 TG Blade Blaster. what'll happen is you'll have Blade Blaster on your field, and then you can use the effect of Recipro Dragonfly to send Blade Blaster to the graveyard and bring back out those 2 level 5 monsters, and use Dragonfly, the level 5 Synchro Tuner, and the level 5 Synchro in order to bring out the level 12 TG Halberd Cannon, because it requires 1 Tuner Synchro monster, which will be the 1 level 5, and then 2 or more non-tuner Synchro monsters, which will be Recipro Dragonfly and the level 5 non-tuner Synchro. I hope that made sense, me explaining it like that, but the point is Dragonfly plus this guy use Dragonfly's effect to bring out TG Halberd Cannon, basically. Now let's talk about these 2 cards. TG Blade Blaster, like I said, requires, basically, for the most part, you'll just be using 2 level 5 monsters, 1 tuner Synchro and 1 non-tuner Synchro monster. And during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell or trap card that targets him, you can send 1 card from your hand to the grave, and then you negate that effect. And also once per turn during your opponent's turn, you can banish 1 TG monster from your graveyard to banish him face up from your field, and then as a quick effect, and then during your next standby phase, you can special summon him back onto the field if he was banished by that effect. Basically, the point is, if you want to use Dark Hole or Torrential Tribute, you can banish Blade Blaster and then bring him back next turn. And you can. That also means that you open up an extra monster zone for other plays. So that's kind of what I like about Blade Blaster, but ultimately we like to go for TG Halberd Cannon, who, when he has to be synchro summoned, and once per turn during either player's turn, when a monster would be summoned, you can negate that summon. And if you do, destroy that monster. And he does have to be face up on the field in order to resolve that effect, but usually he will be, unless, of course, your opponent does some disruption. And then when he's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target 1 TG monster in your graveyard and special summon that target. So basically, once TG Halberd Cannon goes down, you can bring back Blade Blaster, or if you never went into Blade Blaster, you could always just bring back one of the Synchro monsters you used to get him out in the first place. The fact that he just straight up negates a summon once per turn is definitely powerful, and he has 4,000 attack and defense, so he's pretty strong also. The Synchro monster you want to go for first once you start getting, once you start using the effect of Trident Launcher, is Hyper Librarian. After he's on the field, I say that because his own Synchro Summon doesn't count, but after you Synchro Summon him, as long as he's on the field during any of your other Synchro Summons, you can draw a card after you Synchro Summon. So he definitely helps dig deeper into the deck. And since we have a few level 1s that special summon themselves out from your hand onto the field, that's definitely a plus. TG Wonder Magician is a tuner spellcast, or of course it's a spellcaster, but it's a tuner synchro monster that requires a 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner TG monsters, 1 plus non-tuner TG monsters. And if this card Synchro Summon, you can target a spell or trap on the field and destroy that target. And then if it's destroyed on the field, you can draw a card. So the Torrential Tribute / Dark Hole plays affect this. And once per chain during your opponent's turn, you can Synchro Summon during your opponent's turn with this. TG Star Guardian is a newer TG monster that definitely helps the deck a lot. Once per chain during your opponent's main phase, you can, like TG Wonder Magician, Synchro Summon during your opponent's turn, and also, if he's special summoned, you can target 1 TG monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So basically, you can target one of the TG materials you used to bring him out in the first place and add it back to your hand, and during your main phase, you can special summon a TG monster from your hand. He's a Synchro Tuner monster as well. He's level 5. And ultimately, he just definitely helps extend plays himself by a lot. And then 3 generic monsters I run are 1 Trishula, 1 Stardust Warrior, and then 1 Vermilion Dragon Mech. Because of Trident Launcher, usually I don't go into these guys. Surprisingly enough, Vermilion Dragon Mech is probably the one I go into most often. It's the easiest to make, and since we do run quite a bit of tuners, Once per turn, you can banish a tuner from your hand, field, or graveyard to target one card on the field and destroy it. And if he's destroyed by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one of your banished tuners and add it to your hand. So he helps in the deck a lot since we are running quite a few tuners. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really like TGs, and this is definitely a super fun deck. I recommend picking it up because I don't believe anything in this deck is expensive. I know the secret rare Link Monster Trident Launcher is like a very, very, very cheap secret rare in the set it came out of. And ultimately, the recursion in this deck, though slow, is there. And the special summoning, especially with the new support that came out in Battles of Legend, I think this might be something one day. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe. I'm JC Theater Yu-Gi-Oh! See ya.